Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get started with today's episode, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Streetside Brewery. My favorite place to grab a pint when the weather starts to cool, when it starts to get a little crispy in the air. Streetside is where you want to be. It is so good over in the Columbia Tusculum neighborhood. It is good times. It is good people. And let me tell you about the people you will find there Saturday, 10/18 at 12:30 p.m. Queen City Fulham is getting together to watch their team, cheer them on, support them. So go check it out, okay? If you're looking for a Premier League team, this is a good time. If you're just looking for, other soccer fans to hang out with, this is a good place to go do that. Okay. So go check them out over at Streetside. Streetside, FC Cincinnati pub partner, lovers of the community, absolutely love what they're doing over there. And so go check them out, go support them, go grab a pint before the FC Cincinnati game on Saturday yourself. Okay. It's going to be a good time. So go check them out. Love the folks over at Queen City Fulham. It is a really good group of people. So you can go enjoy that over at Streetside Brewery, again, over on the east side of Cincinnati. So a huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this episode. And thank you, listener, for going to check them out. And on today's episode, well, we knew the moment she hit publish, we needed to have her on the podcast. Laurel Pfahler is going to start things off for us on this one because we needed to get her thoughts. We needed her to expand on this. She posted a column on Queen City Press about media access in MLS, and it is really good. We will have a link to it down in the description, but you want to go check that out. The conversation with Laurel is great. We mostly talk about that. We also talk quite a bit about FC Cincinnati at the end there, especially as we head into decision day. Good time. After the interview, we come back, we answer a listener question, and it's a special one. You're going to like it. We wrap it all up with a prediction of decision day, put it all together, put a bow on it, and that's a postcast, baby. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, we are joined not just by the Chief and Grayson, which we are, but we are joined by a very special guest with us here. To start us off, we are joined by the Queen City Press's one and only Laurel Pfahler, covering all things FC Cincinnati. You may also catch her Bengals coverage for the Dayton Daily News. Laurel, how are we doing today?
I'm doing good. It's a Friday for me. My kids are off school the next 2 days, so
nice.
I don't have to get up as early, and so it's a good night.
Well, I mean, it's nice of them to give you this time off right here ahead of going to cover two 40-year-olds playing quarterback on Thursday Night Football. Just what Roger Goodell dreamed of when this Amazon package was introduced to us all.
Well, I don't know who's going to get to bed first, but I think it's definitely going to be past their bedtime.
Oh my God. Now I, typically when introducing a FC Cincinnati or even Major League Soccer guest, I wouldn't go out of the way to point out the other sports or other coverage that they might do. Try to keep it a little more focused to what we're working on here. However, you recently published a column. I think it's fair to call it a column. If you want to refer to it as something else, I'm fine with it. Sort of talking about what it is like being a journalist covering a Major League Soccer team and sort of more broadly Major League Soccer, and where I think you have a very unique and important perspective here is the fact that you cover the local NFL team for a relatively, in both of their leagues, smaller market for their teams. And so it's very interesting to sort of compare and contrast how these two teams have treated the media and how they sort of approach media generally. So I guess I want to start off by asking you, like, what prompted you to go out and write this?
Yeah, it was probably a long time coming. And my point in writing this, is a column. I hate writing opinion pieces. So this was like really hard for me because for someone that does a podcast, I still don't like to give opinions. So I like to just be neutral as much as I can. This was, it had gotten to the point where I wrote a column. And so that tells you, like, listen up, people. But I didn't want it to be, it's not just like here's an FC Cincinnati issue I want to complain about. It's a league-wide thing, and it got to the point where, my coverage with covering FC Cincinnati was impacted, but it's a broader issue that I just felt like, I had gone through some other channels to try to, essentially FC Cincinnati closed their locker room in May, and it's not, they basically said, well, our players have some concerns, and, I tried to come up with some other options of, well, here, can we do it this way? And kind of a non-starter. So I don't know that it's really just a locker room issue, but I went to the Soccer Reporters Association, or North American Soccer Reporters Group, and because basically FC Cincinnati had said, like, we can't enforce this because other teams aren't. So everyone's sitting here seeing that, we go to this other stadium and their locker, like, they see the media outside and they're not in the locker room. And so when we tell them our locker room's open, they are like, well, why are we open and they're not? And so essentially they don't have any problem breaking what is an MLS policy of having an open locker room. And it's also in the CBA. It's very vague in the CBA. It's like one line saying that the media gets to be in the locker room 15 minutes after the game ends. Like, that's kind of like a cool down period. But so that was kind of frustrating because now basically every interview I do has to be scheduled, and it's, a PR person from the team bringing a player out. So, I mean, technically I could ask for someone and it never actually gets to that person that I asked for them. Just maybe they're not around, or the PR person, forgot that I wanted to talk, who knows, but it adds another layer that you have to go through to actually talk to the players. And it's very different in other sports in the US. And, but again, I tried to go through the Soccer Writers Group to say, hey, like, this isn't just an FC Cincinnati issue. Like, what can we do to bring this to the league's attention? And they had some meetings with MLS. I mean, there's like a board that regularly chats with people from the league office, and it just never went anywhere, basically. And then it's, getting toward the playoffs, and FC Cincinnati keeps asking, are you gonna be traveling during the playoffs? Like, they just want an idea, like, who can they expect to be traveling? And I was like, is the locker room going to be open? Because it's a lot of money for me to spend and potentially not get a single player that I actually want to talk to. Which, when they first closed the locker room, there were a couple times. One time we got Ender Echenike, and that was it. And it was like his first game, which, I usually like to talk to guys right after they make their debut, but they had lost, or it was draw. It wasn't a good result. And he was the one that the team was having speak for them. I just didn't think that was fair. And he didn't even speak English, but I'm rambling here, so I'm sorry. That's Brennan here.
No, it's funny that you have this experience both with the NFL and with MLS in this regard. Can you sort of talk about a little bit for people that don't really follow the inside baseball, to mix another sport in here, that don't really follow the inside baseball, of the difference between what kind of access you get covering the NFL, covering a team like the Cincinnati Bengals, versus this idea of the closed locker room in MLS?
Well, that's essentially why for MLS struggling to get media to cover them and to, grab the attention of the fans in unique ways. they need to do more than what the NFL and MLB are doing, because right now the media, when they have a choice in this city, if there's a FC Cincinnati event versus an NFL, the Bengals or the Reds, they're going to go to the Bengals or Reds because they can get multiple interviews on any given day. So I haven't covered much of the Reds, but I did cover Major League Baseball during spring training when I worked down in Florida. And there you've got, a manager talks before the game and after. The clubhouse is open before and after the game. You just never talk to the starting pitcher. Like, there's some understanding. It's not like a written rule, but you kind of know not to bother the starting pitcher before he goes. In the NFL, we get Zach Taylor, on Monday after a game. It's kind of, hey, what did you see after reviewing the film? Injury updates. Then we get him again on Wednesday, and then we get him coming off the field on Friday just to kind of update us on the injury report that'll be coming out and that kind of stuff. The quarterback talks once a week, and then also after games. And then we have open locker room every day that I'm there. So you can go around and talk to anyone you want to. I mean, they can say no, which sometimes they do. And that's fine, but at least you had a chance to ask them.
Yeah.
And they can't be mad if you wrote something that they didn't like and they didn't want to talk to you to, get your to give their perspective. So, in MLS, it's essentially, you're making a request 24 hours in advance to talk to any player you want to try to get. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't work in the schedule. And then we get Pat Noonan usually on Thursday, like 2 days before a match. And then post game, there's press conference. And then usually there's supposed to be locker room. Now it's just kind of a mixed zone, whoever they bring out. So it's just very different. Like I know people, well, I'm probably going into future topics you were going to ask about, but like, it's not like I feel like I want to be in the locker room. I don't actually want to be in there when they're changing. Like, it's not comfortable and it is weird. I see comments like it is weird. Right, it is. But it's our only time when we can actually just talk with them. And I don't have to schedule just to like, hey, how are you doing? How's your family? Like, relationship building, them kind of getting to know us so that they feel more comfortable answering questions and opening up and sharing like unique stories that we wouldn't get otherwise, because, it was a scheduled interview that they felt like, PR is standing right there and I'm on a time crunch because they're standing there looking at their watch, or, it's so much more forced when you're just scheduling it, and it's just not the same. And then, it's just like after games, the raw emotion that you get. Like, I used to, when I first started covering the Bengals, I was just like the side bar writer. I was kind of helping the beat writer at the time at the Dayton Daily News. And my stories were usually just like, Adam Jones said something ridiculous in the locker room. And like, but people love that stuff. Like, it's the emotion and just like, I don't know. You just don't get, we don't have any of those kind of interactions in MLS. Like, there's never any, I don't know if you guys saw the clip of Jamar Chase at a press conference. I referenced this in my column, but Jamar Chase calling out a reporter's outfit because he was wearing all these bananas on his shirt and a banana hat. And he basically was like, that's a lot of bananas that you've got there. And it just led to this like hilarious interaction between a, star player and this little old, we're just these little journalists that don't do a lot. So, but that like, it's just like opened up people to see like what Jamar is like. And they got to make fun of a reporter in the process.
I saw a lot of feedback on Twitter, and I'm sure you've gotten more privately of folks basically saying, we have had similar experiences with MLS and MLS needs to care more about, making broader media availability and thinking about ways to expand its coverage. I'm wondering, though, if you received any feedback from reporters that cover other teams that are saying, oh, that stinks. My experience has been way better.
There have been some that have like, they recognize that that is an overall, like it's an overall issue in MLS, but they do maybe have a better experience. Like I know there's actually a couple reporters in cities that they actually like thought they had an open locker room, but in talking to me, they realized, oh no, I didn't actually have an open locker room. Like they're in this side room and they bring players to them and it's attached to the locker room. And I was like, no, that is not an open locker room-ish. Not the same. So I think, I'm kind of finding out that everyone's experiences are different. Some people, they've never had the open locker room, so they think they have it pretty good. And then it's like, no, it could be better. Like
without naming like specific teams or specific reporters, because I don't want to, get into private conversations or whatever. Are there things that you have heard kind of in general around the league that some teams do better than others that you think are worth kind of pointing out to get maybe fans some context of how teams can actually help reporters cover the team better?
Yeah. Well, I would say like even just to give like FC Cincinnati has traditionally been known as being more accessible than a lot. Back before COVID, we would get, it was Ron Jans. He loved to talk to media. He would talk like Tuesday and then again before the match. And then it was similar. We could get kind of whoever we wanted before practice and we didn't have to schedule it. I think COVID really did change a lot with, we got away from the regular routine and coming back to it. It just kind of got all lost. But Atlanta United, I will say, is kind of they're known to be the standard of what MLS should strive for. And I don't know if that's because, it's an NFL owned team. Maybe they see, I don't know if that impacts because I don't think it's the same like for New England or, but they're very good with the open locker room. I know they send FC Cincinnati does this too, but I know a lot of people really like that they send out their media schedule and like, here's the times. And it's very, they mostly stay on schedule with what is their like plan that they sent out. And then they make I don't remember, do they call them, there's a sporting director, or GM, whatever, but he's pretty accessible.
Yeah.
We've learned Chris Albright is very good at interviews, and when they make him, he's very good. And I think they've done a better job at FC Cincinnati making him available, each window and when there would be interest in talking to him. But I think I get the impression that Atlanta, it's a little bit more regular.
Garth will go out there and we'll learn like updates that the league doesn't want out there yet because he does a radio hit sometimes.
So league rules. Yeah.
We don't need like a Jerry Jones or anything, but also like ownership. Like that's one thing that I think a lot of teams don't make their owners ever available. And like in the NFL, we at least get Mike Brown once a year, and then Katie Blackburn will talk once a year. Like I think, I'm pretty sure Atlanta has a little bit of that going on.
Yeah.
But I was kind of researching because I had to vote for communications staff, and they make you pick your top 3. And I'm just like, I know, like my experiences dealing with like when I've asked for interviews from other clubs, it's been like they've been open to it. So I've mostly had good experience with the other teams I've reached out to, but I'm like, I'm not there every day. Like,
right.
So I wanted to kind of research before I made a vote. And pretty much everyone was like Atlanta United they do it well.
That's funny. Reading some other comments as well, I got the impression that Seattle seems pretty proud of their, relationship on the media side. But again, it's another NFL owned ish team with, sharing the same facilities and things like that. So I do wonder if that plays a role there. But I was struck with like, Yes, the locker room is absolutely a big issue and is absolutely one that people latched onto, because I think on the face of it, it does sound weird, and we've sort of touched on that. But I think even more than that, and you've already mentioned this as well, is like the amount of availability throughout the week from coaches is huge. I'm thinking also too of like, this isn't necessarily with the Bengals, but every single college football and basketball head coach has a 1 to 3 hour radio program where they have to take questions from at least a presenter, sometimes callers. Like, there is a level of like interest that is driven, I think, from these moments. Not that there needs to be this massive clamoring of 10,000 fans demanding a Pat Noonan radio show before we get one.
I listen.
But yeah, maybe it exists and people are interested in that. It blows my mind that there is just like not more. What do you think the resistance is to just opening up the door a little bit?
I mean, I know there's a lot of thought that it's like about controlling narratives and that MLS is afraid to have negative stories out there, which I think there is some of that. Like, I think a lot of, I think there's been a little bit of closing up on FC Cincinnati's part just because of some of the like negative stories that came out with, like Lucho wanting to complain about his GM, essentially. You know, like I don't know that, you know, I'm not going to say that's like why they're closing the locker room, but I'm sure that is in back of mind, you know, especially for a PR staff. Your job is to, you know, make the club look good. And so they're going to do what they can to do that. I think another thing with MLS is that they really emphasize like wanting to be the go-to place for news. So like even like in some of the job listings that you'll come across, it'll say like, we want to be the go-to source for FC Cincinnati news. And that's fine. But, you know, the league like post like, I think they update them regularly on here. This team has the most clicks on their website and these teams are selling the most merchandise. And it's very much we want to be the best. And so we want it all, you know, coming from within house. And it's like, okay, but the fans need more than just what you're spoon feeding them. And they want to.
You're turning into the WWE at that point where like the only people that cover it are, people that are writing these stories as if it's still real and there's no other world outside professional wrestling. The model that's interesting to me is that, with MLB for the longest time, they decided that they were going to have in-house reporters. I know Mark Sheldon did that for a really, really long time for Reds.com, but it was always in addition to the other access that the rest of the media landscape was given. And I always thought, I was looking forward to that potentially being the case when Carter Chapley joined FC Cincinnati. But then it turns out that most teams don't even have an in-house beat writer at all. And they're still adopting policies that are anti-media. And for a league that's behind a paywall, I see your point about like controlling the narrative, but it just strikes me as just anti-business, making bad business sense that you're already out of sight, out of mind for anyone who isn't paying for MLS season pass. You would think that for someone like you, they would want your business model to be so lucrative that you don't have to charge for your content, that advertising revenue alone can put your content out there so that more people can see it. It just, every part of this has struggled to make sense for me personally from a business standpoint, which brings me to sort of another point that I wanted to get your take on, which was that we've seen online that the open locker room concept specifically is a very U.S. specific way of doing business, and that it's something that, we've seen stories that foreign players are very, it's a weird thing the first time they come to an MLS locker room and see that there are reporters that are allowed to have access. What's your take sort of on this idea and this thought that in order to, be more like the rest of the world, MLS's policy on open locker rooms should align with the way the rest of the world is going on this or is on this issue?
I think that's part of the struggle is like MLS doesn't know if they're competing with the Premier League or if they're competing with the leagues within the United States. And the answer is that they're competing with the leagues in the United States. Like they'll even say like, we're not competing with the Premier League, but it's like, well, then why are you trying to be like them with your media coverage? And it is very like that is an issue. And maybe that's why it's become more, why more teams are closing their locker rooms, because maybe there are more international players than there were earlier in the league. That was part of, when FC Cincinnati initially closed their locker room. It actually started the beginning right before the playoffs last year. There were two players that specifically I knew did not want media in there. And one came from another place that in the league that did not have an open locker room. And the other one was a foreign player. And both those players are gone now. So I kind of, when we started the season again with the open locker room. And then in May, they closed it again. I was like, oh, these players are gone now. Can we talk about it again? And it's just, I don't know if it's kind of spread now. They've gotten used to not having it, and I don't know what it is, but it definitely is something that these PR staffs are dealing with. And some of them are better about just saying like, sorry, this is like, we need this. This is part of the policy and this is what we're going to do. But then they've got, their bosses that are hearing from the players maybe, and they're going to back their players. So I think it just comes down to MLS does not have currently a way to my understanding is they're still kind of working on how do we how do we enforce compliance? Like, are we gonna fine? Like, I think there used to be fines, and then somehow that got lost, or people aren't taking it seriously. So that is something I was told like they're working on, but it's just like. And I know Messi obviously is a big part of it. Like they have to treat Messi differently. And then everyone sees, well, Miami, they're doing this. Right. I think that also plays into it. My solution is, well, these star players can be off limits. But like, why can't Messi talk, at least once in a while? He is here in this league, and they've based everything around him. He's on every, MLS season pass thing you open up, Messi on the website, and he doesn't talk. Like, I think that they could at least, like, even if it was 2 questions and it was like once a week or not even that, I mean, it would at least, I feel like they're missing this huge opportunity to really, do something with him here and increase their coverage instead of it just seems to be diminishing.
Like, even if it was a kid, like let a 4th grader ask Messi one question a week. That would be electric content. Like, what are we doing here?
Or just treat them like the referees, where the pool reporters all have to get together. We really focus on what 2 questions we want to submit in writing to Messi.
That's the worst process.
Yeah, I was thinking about that while you were talking, and I guess it's a good time to ask your thoughts on that. It's not really in your piece, but there is this issue where the referees are very closed off, and there's a couple of written questions that you guys get to ask them after the game. You have to get them in by a certain time. And they can answer them basically however they want. I guess I have 2 questions. One is, how do you think that system is working? And 2, have you seen like better ways for media to interact with officials from your experience covering other sports?
Yeah. In the NFL, it's a lot more efficient. And I did try to pitch this as because it used to be you would write it on a piece of paper and then they would hand it to the refs. And then I don't even remember if they wrote back or someone had to transcribe whatever they said. But I don't remember how that process went. I wasn't ever the pool reporter during that time. I was always the backup because Pat Brennan, and then it was Carter for a little while. But it was just it took so much time. You had to it was like, yeah, if you didn't get it in before a certain time after the game, they wouldn't take it. And so then this year they tried to revamp it, and they did try to get some input from reporters. And I shared what happens in the NFL. Basically, it's a phone call, and someone from the league office is on the call, and they're transcribing, and it's a conversation. And I think that the thing that the pro officials, they feel like, well, we're not trained to do interviews, and they were really nervous when they found out they were going to have to, their mic was going to be on when they're explaining whatever they decided on VAR. And so that, like, they didn't want to do a phone call. So they came up with this, it's electronic now. So we get a link, and then it's got like,
Apple doesn't make them use iMessage or like some sort of an app of some sort.
Yeah,
this is a missed opportunity for synergy right here. Come on.
It's like a link, and you put your question, and then you have to kind of guess what their answer is so that you can put a follow-up question. It's like, they call it a follow-up question.
Wow.
And it's like, how am I asking a follow-up question on something I don't know what they're answering? Like, and most of the time we have no idea what they have, like what the foul was or what the penalty call was actually. Like, we'll go on MLSsoccer.com and see their feed, but sometimes that's not even right. And so we're asking a question that's like, well, that wasn't even what we called. And that's what we get. Like, they'll just say, no, we called this. Or, but
I love the idea of the follow-up question having to be pre-written, where it's like, my first question is, in the 68th minute, you did X, Y, and Z. My follow-up is, I know you don't think you did anything wrong, but having said that, could you at least see this point of view? So and the feedback that we were told before all this change was, like, when they were trying to revamp it, was they did want to provide better answers. And I do think that, like, the PR staff of Pro is genuine in wanting that. Like, they are trying to facilitate when we do have additional questions, but I just don't think the refs are actually on board with giving real answers. I don't,
I know for a fact that the Ref CBA contemplates them at least having the opportunity to get media training. Mm-hmm. So that's it's a little, I don't know. I find it uncompelling, I guess, that these, by and large, like, educated people can't ask a couple of questions from, like, I know that MLS media is tough, but
I'm even laughing.
Not exactly being cross-examined in a murder trial or something. Like,
I mean, even that you can survive. Laurel, I guess the big question that I think, because I thought the piece was incredibly well written. I think that one of the more understated aspects of it as well was the idea that when players are provided in a pool, or when coaches are provided in a pool, it really makes it difficult to justify more than one person covering the event because everybody's working off the same source material. So I'm going to do something I hate when journalists do. Can you talk a little bit about why that's so important to be able to have different stories than just maybe the person standing next to you?
Yeah, that's incredibly frustrating and I also, like, I don't tweet out a lot of quotes because I'm like, why am I going to give out the stuff that I'm trying to put behind my paywall? Like, but then, the next person doesn't care because they don't have a paywall, and so they're tweeting everything. And it's just, it's if you want to grow your audience, you need to have unique content. And if the league wants people to be interested in their teams on a, deeper level, then, more content that's different. I always say, like, I would love to have tons of reporters there that are all getting, like, ideally we would all be doing our own separate interviews, and you've got, 8 different stories that the fans can read. Everyone has a different kind of style of, how they like to, maybe they like more analytical pieces, and maybe they like the more human interest side, which is, I like to do that part of it. Like, so I like to hear the stories the players are going to share. And if it's all one interview and it's a group, then
Yeah.
There's no, like, why would someone want to pay for my content when they can get it for free on the team website or whatever other website doesn't have a paywall. So for those of us that are trying to make a living doing this, like, yeah, I need that unique content. And when we did have the open locker room, it did get to a point where we tended to kind of wait for the same guy, and then we'd all interview the same player. And I would sometimes try to break off and be like, okay, I'm going to go talk to, whoever over in the corner that nobody's talking to. So I have something different. And sometimes even in the mix zone, I have to just kind of wait till everyone else is done asking questions. And I'll just say, hey, can you talk to me for a little bit longer? Like, so I do have to get creative, but when you only get one player, and sometimes, it is a little awkward to just like stand there and let everyone finish their questions. And then, hey, can I talk to you on my own? Cause I want to get my own, like, I don't know if they really understand why I'm doing that, but it's just, I want unique content because I think it benefits the league when there's multiple voices and multiple outlets giving different content.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I also think too, like, I know the understanding is it's all fair game, but I would always feel like, not that I have a ton of experience with this, but like when you're in a gaggle there and you're like tweeting out like the responses to somebody else's question, it's like, do they get ownership of the question and the answer? I don't know how exactly this gets worked out. It's tough. And again, like, you would think that this league would be so happy that anybody was showing up to cover this. I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago now that the New York Red Bulls had a post-game press conference where not a single person in the press conference was from a paid outlet.
Yeah.
They had 3 like fan blogs covering it, and that was it.
Yeah.
And like, New York has a couple of media outlets. I don't know. I mean, you might be able to name 1 or 2 of them. It's just wild that there isn't a want or a willingness to just be like, oh my God, you're interested in what we're doing? Come on in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're aware of that too. Like, I just don't, I don't know why they're not better at it. Like, I don't have any answers.
So I guess to sort of put a pin in this portion of the conversation, if we made Laurel head president, queen of all things MLS media related, what sort of things do you think would be immediate action steps that the league could do in order to make it so that the fans are getting better content, and not just getting better content, but getting regular content? You were talking about the NFL, how, there's a cadence where you've got head coaches on Monday, coordinators on Tuesday, head coach comes back midweek for another update. There's player availability. And what it leads to is this every day you can go on to your fan site of choice or your writer of choice or your newspaper of choice, and there's fresh content about the team that you want to follow. What would you do, and what do you think are some immediate action items MLS could do in order to make that sort of more the reality for soccer fans in this country?
I mean, they might need to just start scheduling daily, like, here's who's going to be available. I mean, just to get people out there, because I feel like there are some outlets that, oh, someone's talking today, I should be there. I don't know that would always be the case, but like, if you put that, like, sometimes they don't even share that, oh, the player we're getting this week is Kevin Denke or it's Brenner. Like, there maybe is a little bit more interest in some of those guys. So making that more known that that's who is talking. Like, I put in my piece that, like, even if, if they're not going to do open locker room during the week, which I don't think that's ever been, I don't know that that's ever been a thing in MLS. They could do, like, just having the mix zone where you're on the field as they're coming off and you really can ask whoever you want. Like, just having that opportunity. I think just if people saw, and I think, I don't want to speak for the Enquirer, but James Weber did comment on my post yesterday and said, like, that is part of it. Like, there's no guarantee of an interview on any given day. Why am I going to go out there? And so I think they do need to either start like scheduling, here's who's talking today, and make it a regular, someone's going to talk every day, or you're going to get to ask whoever you want to talk to. Like, that would be my thing that I would recommend. I do think they need to do some training for soccer media, and I've told MLS I am willing to do a seminar if you need to teach the reporters who are new, or maybe they're doing this as a hobby and they've never been in a locker room or been in a professional environment. Like, I think that's part of it. You got to train the media too, here's how you act in the environment, so that the players do feel comfortable and they don't feel like you're just there to watch them change. Or I hope that they don't think that's what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, it's tough when you go from, like, the Bengals media, they often complain that it's not, like, the access there is terrible. And I'm sitting here like, are you kidding me? Like, this is great. Like, we get the I didn't even mention, like, we get both coordinators every week. Like, you can get assistants. I mean, you do have to schedule, you have to say in advance, like, can I get this assistant? If you're doing like a feature story and you just want some more, information on a specific player you're writing about, you can get the assistant. And that, I think MLS could help their coaching pool by actually making the assistants available more often. I think that, if Kenny Arena wants to be a head coach and he's regularly doing interviews, he's out there. His name is out there. He's, getting that media experience. Like, I'm totally going on a tangent here, I know.
No, it's okay.
I have a lot of ideas.
We're a pro Kenny Arena podcast, so yeah,
not just Kenny, but yeah, I mean, I just think, like, they need to put their people out there, and I even put it in my column, like, the players are largely anonymous in this city. Like, Evander could probably go to a restaurant and no one know. Like, there's going to be some, obviously, that follow and know who these guys are, but Bengals players go and they're, let's take selfies and let's, I mean, I think the
and
players
more importantly for the Bengals players too, it's hi, I'm Bengals player here for Thompson McConnell Cadillac, because everybody knows who I am. And like, there is a direct benefit to the players for notoriety in certain instances. So I think if it's done right, it can be a tremendously symbiotic relationship, I think.
Yeah. And just like, you don't want your players to really be anonymous. You want everyone to know, like, they want their jerseys and, they want to go to the games to see these players. And I just feel like they're missing that.
Absolutely. No, we've even joked on this podcast of, like, making up a personality for, like, Yuya Kubo, because, like, we knew nothing about him. So it's like, well, we're just gonna have to invent who he is whole cloth. And so he's a lot of people's favorite player. Like, there's got to be something to latch onto there. But no, that actually, so that does allow us to then look at FC Cincinnati specifically going into decision day. It's somewhat underwhelming decision day from the Cincinnati perspective. There's not a whole lot on the line. If they win, which they are expected to, they will maintain that second seed. If they lose, they'll just need to, or if they don't win, they just need to match the Miami result to maintain that second seed. I guess in my mind, the biggest storyline going into this for FC Cincinnati is where we stand injury-wise and availability-wise with different players. But what do you see as the biggest story going into decision day for FC Cincinnati?
I mean, the biggest thing is making sure they're in a good spot going into the playoffs. And it is tough when you don't have Kevin Denke available. And it's a balance of, like, do we want to protect some of these guys so that they are healthy for the playoffs versus they do want that number 2 seed? Like, especially ownership does not want them going to Miami. They want Miami coming here if that ends up being a possibility. So yeah, they do want that number 2 seed. I
think it's called seed money in the business world right there.
They I mean, they want to make sure that they're in a good spot. They're trying to get in this rhythm still with all these new players. But again, Kevin being out on yellow card suspension doesn't help that. They're trying to bring Obi back. I think that's probably actually the biggest thing I'm looking at is how does Obi look and how are they going to use him? He's been training now 3 weeks. Can he start? And what does he look like? Like, I don't know. Because I think that's a huge piece to what they can do in the playoffs. The midfield, I do feel a lot better about just overall, but he's a huge piece of that. Matt Biazga being out is a concern as well. Miles coming back from U.S. national team, like he played 90 minutes and then whatever it was, 60. What did he play before that? He played a bunch of minutes. Started the last game too. So I think they'll still be like trying to put out there as close of a starting lineup as they can get so that those guys just have that connection going into the playoffs. But again, they've got all these guys coming that were gone for international duty. So is it going to be, well, here's the guys that were here. We feel comfortable with how they looked in training versus, I don't know. That's why I kind of think Obi maybe starts just because he has been here. Noonan likes to have guys coming back from injury, like getting in that normal warm-up routine and then coming in. So, I already forgot what your question was.
No, that was good.
That frequently happens. That's a frequent feature of this podcast. So we're at the end of the season in terms of it is decision day. Looking back over the course of this season, now we have sort of the benefit of 33 of the possible 34 games played. What's been the biggest surprise you've had about this FC Cincinnati team in the 2025 season?
The fact that they aren't scoring just a ton of goals. Like that was what we thought we would be seeing when they brought in Evander. Obviously, it was a big adjustment from Lucho to Evander. Like you knew that was going to take a little bit of time, but they spent $16.2 million on Denke. They spent, $12 million on Evander, add in what was it? Like $3 million for Luca, whatever that was. Maybe Luca's the biggest surprise that he hasn't done more, but I think that's just the thing that I think the fans have been waiting for too, is like, okay, we put all this investment into it. When are we going to see these like huge wins? And it still hasn't come. And, so you can say that's partly the style. You can debate that, I'm sure. But I was going to ask you, what do you attribute that to? Because there's a lot of theories going around the fan sphere, certainly. And just to warn you, my follow-up question, we're going to do this like a PSRA or pro referees interview. My follow-up question after I ask, what do you think is the result of that? Why do you think that's the case? Is what do you think Pat Noonan means by the word patience? We asked this to Carter Chapley, and I'd like to see your take on it as well. I didn't listen to that one. Darn it. I feel like Pat Noonan has tried to explain what he means to. I think Carter one time asked him, like, what do you mean by patience? And I'm forgetting what he said. But I do think it does seem like they take the foot off the gas when they go ahead. And Pat Noonan says that's not the case, but it's hard to not. I mean, they sit back. They do. That's what I see. I'm not coaching them. So maybe they're not listening to his coaching. Who knows? But I don't think that's the case. I'm not going to say that. But it just seems like they get comfortable being up and then they feel like, oh, we've got a good enough defense. We're going to, I don't know, like, do they get tired? Are they like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Why it always feels like they kind of sit back. And he does talk about patience, and I think we do see some of it is like once they do get ahead, I do think there is a little bit of players wanting to individually shine, and then that's where they don't show that patience. Like they go on and take that shot that's crazy outside the box because either nobody's in the box to pass to, or they just want to make something happen themselves. And, I actually would have said that about Kevin Denke's goal at Red Bulls, and it was a fantastic goal. So, but
that's the problem. It works a lot.
I know. I know. But when it doesn't, then it really frustrates Noonan, because then he's talking about we're not patient enough. We're not making good decisions. And it's like, well, maybe they do see that like sometimes their best chances are when they're not making good decisions, and it just ends up being a crazy, beautiful goal. But yeah, so I am curious, what did Carter say about patience?
It was basically the same thing, was that his thought was, and I think that I don't know that I necessarily agree with the philosophy, but I think his read is probably right, is this idea that patience means trusting the system and trusting that eventually the system will result in a better opportunity than you forcing something and you making the choice to, and I think we've seen this from Luke Orishano a lot this year. I'm going to try and dribble and take on 4 people instead of trusting the system and getting the ball to a better option and not turning the ball over. But I guess I also have eyes. I also watch this team. I also don't see what they're waiting for, because I don't see a lot of interesting runs into space. I don't see a lot of opportunities to make line breaking passes. So I hear the idea of waiting to make a good decision. But then it would be one thing if you saw lots of players making runs and then, oh, well, you should have passed to them. Why was that not? But you don't see a lot of that. So I also sympathize a little bit when, someone like a Kevin Denke says, I'm him, and this is the best option that I've got right here. So
he had a nice option to Ender.
Yeah, that's the
one time my theory breaks down. Thank you very much for that.
I think Carter also mentioned, not waiting just for waiting's sake, but like taking but not forcing opportunities, which I get, but it does seem like the way that they've generated goals more often is forcing opportunities and not through like a 13 pass sequence.
I do think that Luka has been the biggest culprit of the just trying to do it himself this year. And I really think that he misses Lucho. Like, he was just used to knowing that Lucho would be there to pass to. And Evander's just a different kind of player. He's not always demanding the ball like Lucho did. And Luka knew that he would get the ball back from Lucho if he gave it to him. And I think that's kind of evolving with Brenner a little bit. I do see Brenner he is crazy motivated, and I do see him making runs. So maybe that helps get something going. It has already. He scored 3 goals, but I don't know. Like, I just want to see Evander just take over in the playoffs, like he has at times. This year, and he is a very special player, and I think he will be motivated because he's in a spot that he wasn't in Portland, and that does mean something to him. And so I do hope we see the Evander that that we have seen glimpses of and, stretches of. But I think some of the players need him to, they need him to be that guy, because otherwise they just try to do it themselves. And, I don't know, I remember Tyrone Marshall back when he was interim head coach, talking, and obviously that was a terrible time for FC Cincinnati, but he would talk about guys at the end of the season trying to get their bonuses or trying to trigger an option. And so ever since he said that, I do kind of wonder at the end of the year, is this guy just trying to get a bonus? So I don't know.
So maybe add to the list, making the contracts public so we can know in advance, what are people shooting for on decision day right here.
I spoke with Kai Kamara today, and he was very open. I didn't even ask him about his contract situation. We were talking about, I don't know, him still trying to get his first goal. And he said well, there is in my option a trigger. There's a goal. If I get so many goals, it triggers my option. And like, I was just like, oh, wow. Like no one ever like just shares that. And so then you were wondering like, well,
Kamara hat trick incoming is what you're
well, but then he's like, it's like, so yeah, are they pressing to try to get their goals so that they can be on the team next year? They have a contract. Like, I do kind of wonder if that kind of plays into it. But
yes.
So over the course of the season, we added, for the first time, we are full up on U22 spots. I'm curious your take on this because everyone seems to have a different view of the U22s. Going forward in the playoffs, who is the most important of the U22s for this team's success, do you think?
I'm going to say Sammy Geedy. I've been very impressed by him. And I just think that was where things broke down in 2023 was they didn't have a backup for Obi. He got hurt. And obviously now Obi is, still coming back, and they've relied so much on Pavel Buka being healthy and available all the time. And that's a lot to put on him. So I think having that other option and a guy that, he is known to be a ball progressor, and that's what they really need in the midfield. So I think he's going to be kind of the key. Ender, I think he'll be okay. He was at least training off to the side today. So I think he can be a huge weapon for them. And I kind of still like him off the bench, depending on who's healthy on the left side and available. I still like him. If they have their options for starters on the right, that's, I guess who would they? Dom? I don't know. I'm still not sure about Dom. He's good, and then he's not, and then I don't know.
Yeah.
But
50-50.
Yeah. I just really like, the speed that Ender brings. I think that can be huge for them, late in the game. Maybe from the start, I guess he showed that he can. But yeah, I think that they've done a pretty good job with their U22s this year.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Flores in a while, but I don't think that they necessarily needed him to be a starter this year.
Yeah. He's looked fine when we've seen him. I do have I think it's a dumb question. Maybe it's not.
These are all dumb questions, Kevin. You know this.
No, but this is a particular level of dumb. Is there a goalkeeping controversy brewing in FC Cincinnati? Look, we are the Evan.
You're right. I take that. Yes, that was undoubtedly a dumb question.
Yeah.
This is the Evan Laurel podcast. I totally recognize and understand that. However, they're undefeated.
Yeah.
The various goalkeeping metrics with this tiny sample size suggest Loro is 4 times the shot stopper of Roman Celentano. Is there anything to this?
I do think there is a little, I think they're going back to Celentano. I'll start with that. And
I would agree with that.
I got a mailbag question on this, so I'm publishing that finally tomorrow. So you're getting a little sneak peek, but it's, they're undefeated in Evan Laura's 4 starts. So I do think they, Pat Noonan does like to go with the hot hand, but there's this sense of, I don't want to say loyal. It's not just loyalty to Roman Celentano. But they have developed him, and there is a lot more games that they've seen of Roman versus 4 that and obviously he played in Leagues Cup too, but the sample size for Evan is much smaller. So I just think they're going to end up going back to Roman, assuming he should be full go by now. He was pretty much checked all the boxes before Red Bulls, and they kept with Evan, which that could have been a sentimental, he's going back home. He's doing well. Let's keep with him. It could also be just let's give Roman, we'll have these extra 2 weeks. It was Evan was doing great. There was really no reason to change. But at this point, you want the guy that you're going to be playing in the playoffs. And I think it's going to be Roman. I think that Evan, the thing I really like about him is, especially when Matt Miazga's out, he commands that defense. And that's what they're missing with Miazga gone, is that vocal leadership and just yelling at guys to get in position. And Evan isn't afraid to do that. Roman is a lot quieter, and you don't see that as much from him. And that's really like in talking to the players, like that's the only real difference that they notice between Roman and Evan is like the shot stopping. I still think Roman probably has an edge there, but it's not drastically different. And the players don't notice it enough. The thing that they do notice is the personality. And like, so that's the thing that I think is going to make it tough to change back to Roman, and especially because they have been doing well. But I mean, if anything, they've at least learned that Evan deserves a contract next year.
Yeah, when did we get that contract extension announcement?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think like that has to be like already done.
Right.
No?
Are both of them on the roster next year?
Roman and Evan?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. If you got two starting caliber keepers, it sounds like you got one really good trade option and a starting goalkeeper.
Yeah. I mean, I could see them being able to maybe sell or trade Roman. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. Great question, Kevin.
I mean, they love having starting options in their goalkeeping room, but they do like Paul Walters too. Like we haven't seen him. So
yeah.
Laurel, you've been incredibly generous with your time. I'm cognizant of watching the clock here. So I guess my biggest question going into decision day, and we sort of started the conversation with FC Cincinnati about what are we going for? What's going to happen here? Who is the team that if you are FC Cincinnati and you are speaking on behalf of the organization and the fan base, who is the team you don't want to see in the playoffs if you're FC Cincinnati? And who is the team we should be actively looking to avoid?
Yeah, I still don't think they want to see Columbus. I just think there's too many emotions, and like if it doesn't go well, like it's bad. But
I know I can't handle it. Yeah. I'm just gonna have to nope out of that series. I'm gonna decline politely.
I was there was a Zoom today with some of the MLS season pass analysts, and I can't remember if it was Dax McCarty. Somebody said that they would not. Oh, maybe I think it might have been Bradley Wright Phillips was like, I would not want to see Columbus because even though they have not played well but there's like a championship in there somewhere, like it's going to come out like I don't know, just something about Columbus that with Wilfred Nancy, like but yeah, I think I'm saying it more just because it's too emotional and you just don't want that.
And so to put the vibes higher to finish out here, finish the following sentence. FC Cincinnati will win MLS Cup if.
If Evan is starting the entire.
I was going to say more like, I still think that Matt Miazga is a key. Like he wasn't on the field in 2023. And yeah, his last few games, like he had some very uncharacteristic turnovers that were just awful and led to goals. And you do see that he has maybe lost a little bit of a step, but I still think that he is a difference maker. And I am a little concerned with his little injuries he's had. And I think they have okay depth at center back, but I just think him and Miles on the field together makes the team just a whole lot better. And so I don't know if that's really a good, like if Matt Miazga's on the field, they're going to win, but I think that could be a difference maker.
I mean, we can get Matt Miazga on the field. He might not be healthy, but if all we need to do is get him on the field to win, we can arrange that.
Roll him out there.
Yeah, just sit on the touchline here, buddy.
But then we go back to the time when Nick Hagelin came out on the field ahead of the Eastern Conference Finals and had that electric sword pull, and then it was followed by the 120 worst minutes of my sports life, I think.
Maybe the better one is just like if Brenner is scoring goals, like I think that he can be also like on the other end. Like they obviously need someone scoring goals, and I think he's the guy that you're kind of looking at right now because like he came in and immediately made an impact. And I don't know. I think that they brought him in to win an MLS Cup. So let's see it.
Yeah. Oh, would love to see it. Laurel, you've been, as Chief said, incredibly generous with your time. We are huge fans of your work over at the Queen City Press. Folks can subscribe on Patreon. What else should people know about your work? Where should they go?
Yeah, I know it's subscription based, but there are free trials. I don't want to turn anyone off to at least check out a free trial if there's a story you want to read. But yeah, Queen City Press on Patreon, and then I'm on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads. Yeah, happy to answer any questions. I'm pretty open. So
awesome. Oh, we really appreciate it, and not just this conversation, but appreciate you being the beat writer right now, the independent beat writer for FC Cincinnati fans. No, the service you do for this fan base is incredible, and we are very appreciative of it. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And I guess that really reminds me of why I probably wrote that letter, because it is frustrating being the only one there all the time. So, media, come on out and join me. You guys, when Damon's there, it's great. So keep coming out.
Yeah. We just got to find a way to pay Damon a living wage. So I feel like we can get him out there more.
Well,
Baby
let me know
steps.
if you figure that out. Because myself, I eventually would like to have another writer, but yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what we can work on. No, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Oh, a huge thank you once again to Laurel for jumping on to talk about that. I thought her column was great. I think we all echoed the sentiment from her column and felt important enough to bring her on to talk about it. So happy to have that conversation with her. And I thought it went really well.
Yeah, it's a league-wide criticism. I want to make sure that that's very clear.
Yes.
And I think we touched on that, but this is not an FC Cincinnati issue. It's brought to light by the fact that Laurel covers FC Cincinnati, but there are no clubs that are doing media access the right way. It's just a question of, you pick your flavor of what you want your particular club to do and what they do well and what they don't do well. Maybe some clubs are better about locker room access, but no club is doing everything or doing the most they can possibly do in order to make the product more accessible to people. So
right.
I hope that people listening to that don't take this as a shot to FC Cincinnati, because I think FC Cincinnati does a lot of things really, really well.
Yeah.
I think the things they don't do well are just following league trends, and the league trends are what are worrying, I think.
Yeah. Again, as we said over and over again, especially for a league in MLS's position, you could understand to some level the NFL closing things off or closing things down, the NBA, the MLB. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for MLS to be doing that. If there's a professional lacrosse league coming to this area, I would assume they would be very open to having as much or as many media there. I'm sure the Cyclones would love to have local reporters showing up to their game. So yeah, that's is a good conversation. And yeah, go support Laurel if you don't already. And speaking of support, Laurel gives a free trial on her Patreon. We don't, okay? You commit or you do not. That is how it works. Now, before committing financially and emotionally to us, we do offer you the privilege of asking a question to us that gets answered on the podcast. Now, I added an extra little cherry on top of the ask with questions this month. And I think I scared people because usually we get a fair number of questions. In fact, sometimes we get so many questions, we don't get to all of them in the month that we are supposed to. But we've only gotten one question since asking for questions. But that is because I asked, not a requirement, to be clear, not a requirement. But if you feel so inclined, you can submit your questions audibly by recording, say, a voice memo on the voice recorder app on your favorite phone that you're using, and email it to us. That is contact@thepostcincy.com. And we can actually have you read your question to us on the podcast, which I think is fun and exciting. So as somebody who has had to listen to their own voice way too much already in life, let me tell you, it's fine. Get over it. You sound that weird to everybody all the time, okay? Just embrace it. But we did get a question coming in from Scott Wilson, and I think it's a good one.
Hey guys, if you were tasked with developing a board game that somehow encapsulates the complexities of the MLS salary cap rules, what would that game look like? If you get the ball rolling, maybe the Discord can help put together the world's game, the game. Thanks.
I like that.
I assume Chief's mind went to the same place my mind went.
Sure did. So back when we were basically planning the post, before the postcast, before even the website was up, there were more than a few brainstorming sessions that devolved into, hey, wouldn't it be cool if? And the idea that we came up with and ran with for probably longer than we should have was the idea of doing an adult board game. And I say adult board game because I'm thinking and envisioning one of those games where your friend has a copy of it and has to take 45 minutes to explain the rules to you. Before inevitably everyone's like, well, that sounds like a big time commitment. Can we just play something like, can we play something a little less intense because we got to get home at the end of the night?
Yeah.
But the idea that we had was a cooperative adult board game where everyone is working together as a team to convince the local city they live in to build a stadium with public financing dollars.
Yes.
And the various things that you would have to do in order to get buy-in from the local community, get state funding, get local funding, get your local city council on board.
Fit enough cash in a duffel bag.
Enough cash in a duffel bag. Maybe you draw cards where scenarios happen and, this city council person was caught in an FBI sting and went to prison. And, the next person that's been appointed isn't quite as good. Yeah, pro-development, pro-business, if you will, not chamber endorsed. And there would be different roles that each person would play. Like, I'm the political advisor. I'm the wealthy CEO billionaire that's the bankroller. I am the ex-NFL executive who is now helping build the stadium right here. I am the head of the fan group that is collaborating with everyone to try and AstroTurf public support. This is not based in anyone's experience. This is just based on, the general zeitgeist that everyone goes through when trying to get, a stadium approved. And I still think there's a there with this. So
the difficulty would be based on like what league or what type of team you're trying to get in. So like an NFL team, fairly easy. If a city has the opportunity to bring in an NFL team, they typically move heaven and earth to make that happen. If you're trying to get like public funding for the women's hockey team, you're playing on hard mode, man. Like, I'm not saying it's not a worthwhile investment by any means. I'm just saying it's going to be a little harder for you. So
I have an idea for how you can do a game with the MLS roster rules.
Okay, please.
Okay.
Well, before you say that, I just want to say that the name I had cooked up for this game, which I think just perfectly encapsulates cross-marketing to maybe a demographic that isn't as sports enthused, but would really like to play a board game like this. Sports ball.
Sports good.
Continue, Grayson. Sorry.
No. So I'm thinking of a kind of like a rummy type game or like a phase 10 type game where it's cards. Okay. You play the game face up, and there's also like a deck in the middle. Okay. And each round you start the first round with like a very easy roster rule, like a $5 million salary cap. Okay. And you can pick from the cards in the middle, or you can also swap cards with a player on the team. Okay. And when you get to compliance with that roster rule with the cards in front of you, maybe you got to tweak it this way. Like your round is over and you play until there's like one person who's stuck. Okay.
Yeah.
And the second round, you add another roster rule. Okay. And then the third round, you add another roster rule.
Yeah.
In the fourth round, you add another roster rule. Right. And then by the end of the game, you've got like 10 roster rules, and you got to build like a perfectly compliant roster with the cards. That's like maybe like 10 cards. Maybe you can like modify the salary cap a little bit, because like 20 feels like a lot, you know. But anyway, that's my game, right? You just build on top of each other through however many rounds it takes to finally at the end of the game be the first person to have a fully compliant MLS roster.
So what you're doing is maybe the way that you do this is that you have cards that are the game cards, and like maybe each one of those cards has something like how much the card is worth in terms of your points, and how much the card costs in terms of, you know, this is a $1 million card, or this is a $500,000 card, but it's a $1 million card that's also like it's a 10-point card as well. Yep. And then there's a second set of cards that are the roster rule cards. And each round you turn over the roster rule card, and then you have to make exchanges between the community cards in the middle and your cards in order to build a compliant roster. And then maybe there are other cards that are hidden. So you've got those cards are face up, and then you've got like a third deck of cards that's face down that are your maneuver cards, where I play this card, I get to exchange one of my cards for one of your cards, and then that makes me roster compliant. But oh no, now I've given you one of the cards that makes you roster non-compliant, and then you have to exchange in order to become roster compliant. Maybe there's another one where it's like, you know, a retirement card, where I play the retirement card, and one of your players just retired right there. That card goes to the discard pile. Now you have to get roster compliant. And then after each round,
there's like an option card where it's like, oh, this player's option triggered.
Yeah, I get this player for another year.
You have to keep this player through the entire next round.
Right.
And
you can either you can use the option card
double,
yeah, you can use the option card for your player
or for another player.
Yeah, maybe each card has like a token on it or something, and that's how many years that you have the player for a contract. And you can use the option card on your player, and you keep him for another year, another round. Or you can make it on another player's card where it's like, oh, you wanted to get rid of this jabroni. Sorry, you have another option, and he just hit his option right there. So it can be like
Sergio Santos is on your team the rest of the game.
So it can be like an offensive move for you, like, aha, I get Evan Loro for another year. Or to the other player, it's like, aha, you get Sergio Santos for another year.
I'm thinking too of like, okay, you could potentially do something like this with a normal deck of cards, where your suits are sort of your buckets of money, but each round the exchange rate changes. So all of a sudden, like 4 hearts were worth 10 diamonds, but now in this round, 8 hearts are worth 3 diamonds. And it's like, oh shit, now I'm way out of whack here. I gotta fix this. But I do have to ask both of you, have either one of you played the card game Mao, probably in college? Did you ever play this game?
No.
Because Grayson,
like based on the Chinese Red Revolution? What are we talking about here?
Actually, yes. I would explain the rules of Mao to you. However, that would be a violation of the very first rule of Mao. But Grayson, you have almost perfectly described the rules of Mao. If people don't know how it works, is it's a very simple rummy game.
The person in charge makes up all the rules, and then they end up with all the power.
Yes, literally, the game works. You're playing a very simple rummy game, and the dealer is in charge of making the rules, and you play a hand, but nobody's allowed to speak, is how it works. And if you ask a clarifying question, you get like dealt extra cards, and you're like trying to get rid of your hand, and whoever wins the hand then gets to make up a new rule, but they don't say the rule. You are just punished for violating the rule when you eventually run into it. It's very fun. You just keep going round and round.
And then after 5 years, we go back and we declare everyone that we thought had won had actually won.
Yes.
And if you thought somebody else won, then, well, you know, you just were remembering things wrong.
Yes, it's a good game.
Yeah.
So thank you, Scott, for asking the question and being brave enough to record yourself. Maybe spread the word. Not that scary, okay? People can do this. They've got this. So
there'd be another card that you can play, like pizza delivery, and then all of a sudden your player is not available.
Oh no, your star card is unavailable. That's crazy.
Good luck getting roster compliant now, loser.
Oh God.
We joke because there's pain. Karaoke. Your coach is no longer available.
Oh God. Based on action, true events. Oh God. Anyway, decision day, Montreal. There's no Kevin Dinke. There probably isn't an Ender Echenike. TBD on the role Obi plays. What are we thinking in this one?
I think it's a romp.
They need a good vibes
For
game.
whom?
For us, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Montreal has nothing to play for.
You can be tricked into thinking, oh, Montreal's playing with pride because they like tied Nashville last game. They beat Charlotte 4-1 in what was like a really weird game.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's fake. I think those results are fake. Montreal, everyone's busy like packing up their apartments and
It's fake news.
trying to see if they can get out of their lease. This is a fun, let's put up some numbies game.
Be nice.
I'm into it.
Everything seems like it should be that way. It's the last game of the season. They have to travel. We just had the international break. Everyone's already thinking about their next gig or whatever they're going to do next. You would like to think this would be a Montreal. This has the kind of energy where like a Montreal player gets sent off in the first 15 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Just because I really don't want to be here. And so I'm going to remove myself from this situation and I'll see you all next year or on some other team. So I kind of agree with Grayson. I think this has womp potential. I think it has like Montreal finishes with 9 men potential as well. There's a little bit of that kind of energy vibe going on. And the FC just needs it. Like they need to go out and they need to kick somebody's ass. And I think the team understands that. I think Pat understands that. And that's what I'm expecting. So yeah, I agree.
The thing that this game feels most like to me is Decision Day 2022.
Yeah, DC United.
The DC United game.
Yeah.
Where, like, I think we were still a little unsure. It's very dissimilar because our playoff position is basically set, whereas the DC United game, the team potentially had to win.
Yeah.
I think it turned out that they ended up having the results go their way anyway, but I think it was a team that I think there were a lot of question marks around. We weren't really sure how to view them going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they just had a great time. Against DC. And that's kind of what I'm expecting Saturday. Yeah.
I will go along with all of that. I will just add, in classic FC Cincinnati fashion, I think the most random, not good player of theirs is going to score a goal. We may win 5-1, but I'm putting the stake down that Brandon Craig is going to get his first goal of the season. He's a defender. He has played 22 matches, 13 starts.
Brandon.
Yes, not Brandon.
I just want to be clear that people were talking about Brandon
Craig.
Jordan.
We mentioned this when talking to Tony Husband on the World's Gam, but I am also curious for the Prince Owosu Cashford tryout for the for a team in MLS. I'd like to think he'd be the Brenner role next year, but I do think he will be priced out of TAM range. But Prince Owosu's pretty good, I think, and I want to see what he looks like with a better supporting cast. So
he does have a name like a professional wrestler. Like if you found out that Prince Owosu was fighting for the Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series, you'd be like, yeah, I see that. I could see that. Yeah. He just got back from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like he's a big top draw.
I mean, isn't that really what like playing for Montreal is for MLS?
Yeah, it really is.
I've heard rumors of these guys up here.
Yeah, Survivor Series is actually a really good name of anyone that actually gets a second contract someplace else outside of Montreal.
Survivor Series should sponsor the head coaching job like the like MLS does for the Canadian national team manager, the Survivor Series head coaching role. I couldn't tell you who Montreal's head coach is. I assume he's an interim.
Sure. Why not?
This is telling me Marco Donald, Donadel. My brain just broke. Donadel? Marco Donadel? Sure. Let's go with that.
Why not? What do you got, Grayson? What do you think on this one? What are we predicting?
4-1 to the FC.
Hell yeah. With a goal from Brandon.
I think I don't know, is Caden Clark still on that team?
No, she's hurt.
That's funny.
I'll tell you who's going to score. Bryce Duke.
I was going to say Bryce Duke is still on this team. The $1 million man himself.
I'm always saying this.
No, there was another random name that popped up. Defender Jalen Neal. Yeah.
Ah, yes.
It's the Island of Misfit
The
Toys
dead man, Jalen Neal.
Oh man,
Efren
Dante Seeley,
Morales, Alvarez.
I'm sorry, Y2 Jalen Neal. I'm gonna say 4-0 FC Cincinnati for this game.
Hell yeah! I'm gonna say 3-1 the FC, but like a decisive 3-1 where we put up like 50 shots. We feel good about it.
Yeah, and then when like we let that one in, everyone rushes to Twitter and it's like, you know, Evan wouldn't have let that in.
Here we go. I guess, yeah, let's make that the last predictor. Who starts in goal? I understand Roman is the starter, but does he start this one?
Yes, he will be back. This will be as close to the starting lineup for the playoffs as they can possibly put out there to start. You know, obviously Denke won't be available because he just loves showing off the abs. But other than that, I would expect that you will see a full starting lineup for this team as best they can, and that they will rotate in the second half as necessary. And that means Roman Celentano starting.
I forgot about the Denke suspension, and that makes me feel even more strongly that it's going to be like 4-1. Like
a whomping. Yeah.
And then it's going to raise that fun question, right?
Was Kevin Denke holding this team?
Is this team actually better without Kevin Denke?
Yeah, like the best outcome in terms of just, are you looking for a narrative or are you looking to feel good? If you're looking to feel good, you know, whatever, whenever. If you're looking for a narrative, it's Brenner and Evander combined for 4 goals, and they assist on each other's goal for each one of them. So like 2 Brenner goals, 2 Evander goals, each one assisted by the other. And the question is Kevin Denke in the way?
I really want to sneak in a Dado goal somewhere in there, but I won't get greedy. Okay.
He won't even make the 18, Kevin. Just don't even get your hopes up at this point.
Can we trade him for Prince Owosu? I am listening. And Montreal probably is too, to be honest. They're dumb.
At WWE Backlash, Dado versus Prince Owusu. Tables, ladders, and chairs. Dado, get the tables.
Oh my God, Giacomo Vrioni's on this team.
Classic.
And he became Albanian.
Wow.
Well, I mean, you know, Gidi became what is it, Slovenian?
Slovakian. Yeah.
You know, it's funny. You would assume a Canadian team in Montreal would be, I think, primarily Canadian with a fair number of Americans. There are almost no Americans or Canadians on this team.
Well, you go to Montreal, like they all don't think they're Canadian up there. Like they're Quebecois.
That's a good point. I'm not trying to poo-poo anybody's separatist movement.
No.
It's basically Samuel Piette and what I assume are a bunch of like youth players.
Yeah.
So you're going to revise that up to 5-1?
No.
5-2 for Yoni Squid. No, 4-1. I'm sticking with it.
Well,
well, that's good. But Chief, let's end this one then.
Fuck Columbus.
The Cincy Postcast is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out online at thepostcincy.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky, Facebook, and Instagram. Twitter and Blue Sky, though, you'll find we're a little more active than the other places. We're also on YouTube, where you can listen to this episode if you aren't listening to it already. We are also putting up video content semi-regularly, including the Away Days series. We want to give a huge thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers for providing the music for this episode. They're a lovely band, and you can find more information out about them in the description of this episode. And if you happen to enjoy what you just heard, can I please ask that you like us, that you rate us on whatever app you're listening to, and maybe more importantly than all of that, share this episode with a friend. When it comes up at work, you're talking about FC Cincinnati, I say, hey, I listened to an FC Cincinnati podcast. I think you guys will like it. It would really, really help us out. Nothing helps a podcast travel more than a good recommendation from a friend, family member. That would be awesome. When it comes to the sorting algorithms that control our lives, a 5-star review would be much appreciated. Also, leaving a sort of written review weirdly does more than that. That's how the algorithms work. So maybe say a nice or a mean thing, whatever. Just as long as you give us 5 stars, that'll really, really, really help us out. And if you are looking for more MLS content, check out our other podcast, The World's Gam. Again, a link will be in the description of this episode. That is where we touch on league-wide storylines and news, and we talk about other games and a couple other teams in there as well. Think you will enjoy it if you are just dipping your toes into Major League Soccer. A huge thank you to all of our sponsors. A even bigger thank you to all of our patrons over at Patreon. But maybe most importantly, thank you for listening to this episode.